Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Scott back with the Delineating Warcry. I'm just doing a quick video today to go over some lists for the event that I'm going to on Saturday. This event is called Marths of the Dead over in Ontario, so I'm hopping across the border for it Saturday morning. It is a one-day event, 4 rounds, 700 points, pretty clear cut. I just wanted to go down through all the lists and take a look at what everyone's bringing. We got 20 people that are signed up. Hopefully everyone shows up for the day. It has qualified as a OSBGL 90, so it's worth a few more points, which is good. Um, good diverse roster so far. There are a couple lists that we don't have that are still getting submitted. One's hidden, one just isn't entered. But so far, no one is playing the same list twice, which is really cool to see. There's often like a few of the common ones that show up a couple times, like Depths of Moria or Men of the West, stuff like that. But when it came to this one, no, everyone's got something unique, which is really cool. So hopping over to my spreadsheet here, just gonna go down with what we got. Starting with James, he's got Return of the King, Aragorn, King of the Dead, and a whole bunch of ghosts. It doesn't have leg loss, which I think might make it a little more difficult to run. But 29 ghosts or 28 ghosts, and then Aragorn is not a small amount of ghosts. They're all defense 8, obviously, besides Aragorn. They're hypermobile, so it can go for positioning plays, and it does have the bodies. I mean, we'll get to it in a little bit, but this is almost the average model count, which is very unexpected for ghosts. So I've thought about running this style more so before I unloaded my ghosts earlier last year because I needed money. But I had thought about running heavy ghost versions of this, mostly in Pelennor rather than on here. So Legolas and Gimli just leading a ton of ghosts. But I never got around to it at all. But I definitely think if the ghosts roll pretty decent and there's not too much strength 4 or 2 handing, which there really isn't from what I've seen. This can go a long way with this amount of models. Um, Moving on to Ray. He was my opponent at the last Ontario event in the 4th round. He's rocking Kingdom of Rohan again. He's sticking true to Éomer and Theodred. It's 27 models, but it is a lot of bows. So he's at 18 bows, which is very high. Rocking Éomer, Theodred, and then gambling with the banner. And then there are a bunch of Royal Guard to even out the numbers, but then he loves those foot warriors of Rohan, maxing out the bows, considering that the riders of Rohan don't contribute or take away from bow limit. They're their own thing, so stacking up a few more with them to maximize. This can control the board pretty decently between mobility, and it's got a decent amount of might, especially renewable might, if it rolls pretty decent on those royal standard rolls. And Éomer and Theodred can just really go to town. I think this is a solid way to run Kingdom of Rohan. Éomer and Theodred really are the big hitters in the list, so we'll see how that goes. I'll spoil it now. There's not that much hatred Rohan this time, so he might get away with it. I'm not running usurpers, as we'll see, so there's no big hatred. Next up, we got Jacob Wigson playing Baradur. So I mentioned in the video last when I was talking about, or a couple times ago, when I was talking about the Michigan event that I went to, and there was a Balrog with all shields. That one didn't do too great, but it's the same kind of theory here, and I think this is maybe a few more points than I think work for it, but maybe. It's got a lot of orcs of shield that can just hold down while Sauron goes to town. It's really looking to just wait out opponents. Um, I do think 700 is a little too high, but if it works, it works. It does have mobility also with the drummer to really get stuff around. Takes pressure off the captain, not having to call marches and all that. So it can really let Sauron do a lot of work. Next up, we've got Steve bringing atop the wall. Gandalf Shadowfax, Earloss, and 2 bolt throwers. Solid amount of troops considering the double bolt thrower buy. I will say I do think that this list needed Pippin, but it can definitely put in the work. It's about average model count for the event, so I think it might have some problems with spammier lists if they get in without the bolt thrower doing enough work. But the bolt thrower will definitely be really oppressive to some of the model counts that we're seeing here. Uh, Low 30s, 20s, or below can really have a problem if anything gets picked off against this list. Next up, we got Jonathan Park bringing Birder's Horde. He's sticking to it, committed. Um, Birder, double hill troll, and a wild war chieftain. It is a lot of wild wargs at 11, but the number count being up to 41 is not too bad when you have 3 monsters and a warg chief. Um, I think in a battle line situation, this is solid. It might suffer against any of the heavier shooting lists, and of course, bolt throwers are present. So if they get hits into those trolls, it could be a problem. But I think if it gets into melee successfully, this can definitely do some damage, keeping heroes down with hurls, doing some work with the Wild Warg Chieftain on mobility. It can definitely do some damage. Next up, we got Paul Coulson with Army of Eteros. This is not far off from kind of how I've been thinking of running it. Um, Haleth and Freyloff are really solid. Their fight 6, 3 attack, or the charge 4 attack. Banner gets them a 5th die, or even 4 when they get charged if they lose the move off, which is big. I mean, they're not likely to lose duels against troops. Now, heroes, they might have some trouble. Freyloff not having strike can be a problem, but at fight 6, I mean, he doesn't really need to go into opposing heroes. Halleck can go fight them. Freyloff just goes, murders, munches troops, just tries to go to town. Hera is in. I spoke a little bit with him about the list because the initial submission was a little messed up, so it got fixed in the event page. I recreated all these for visuals. Um, he talked to me about Hera. He is really looking for the master battle triggers on Freyloff, which is a reasonable reason. I mean, at 700 points, I don't think you could put Helm here. He just brings the count down too far. So Hera's not a bad choice. I do think Olwen might have been a little better. Um, I do think there are a few too many riders of Rohan. I think this list could be better served with maybe 4. 8 might be a little high, but having 40 models with 2 fight 6, 3 attack hitters is not a bad number count. I mean, it's pretty above average for this event. And it has 13 throwing spears, which can also do really solid. I do think Army of Eteros ultimately is an infantry based with mounted heroes. It's just the Warriors of Rohan, while they're not amazing, they're not slouches. I mean, they can hold up with throwing spears, and they can take bows. They can sit there and just wait out opponents while the heroes just get banner coverage, munch troops. I mean, if Haleth and Freyloff go on a tear, they can kill 4 troops apiece over 2 turns. That's a lot of kills right off the bat. Um, Between the two of them, they can kill 16 troops in 2 turns. That could cripple most lists. So I do think that this is pretty close to the way that you definitely want to run this. Jan didn't submit the list, or it's hidden still. Trying to cheese everybody. We'll find it eventually. If it's up by the time that I finish the video, or am editing the video, I'll do a little addendum at the end. Riley Douglas bringing Grand Army of the South, Kondish King, Amdur, and Kamul. It's an interesting way to run the list. I'm interested in the Kamul horse over Amdur horse. I know Amdur doesn't really need a horse. He can just go ham in melee and just use, I believe he has phalanx as well. So he just kind of hangs out the line. It's okay. And he's given out his banner, but I think ultimately the horse would have probably been a little better. Um, Kamul's an interesting choice. Um, I'm interested to see how that plays out. And I mean, Condish Kings are pretty sick on chariots. Now they rely a lot on RNG, but if they do well, they do well. I mean, they can. It's one of those things. 700 is not a low point, but considering the model count, I mean, if it goes on a tear and munches a third of an army, with the average being just over 30, that could just end a game. So it is a very powerful tool for that. Moving on, we got Mike Scott. He has Breaking into the Fellowship. Pretty buck standard way to run it. Aragorn, Boromir, Legolas, Gimli, Merry and Pippin, and then Haldir, and then Elves. I'm interested in no Frodo. I do think he is pretty necessary at this point level because you have more elves than fellowship, so you risk breaking. And I think he might prevent, I mean, he will prevent that most of the time. But if Boromir, Legolas, and Gimli just go on a tear, or an Aragorn go on a tear, I mean, again, talking back to the model count is just over 30 for this. I think they can definitely just do a few heroic combats as a group and really just munch troops. And I mean, 20 is not that bad considering the other model count. They can definitely even it up with heroes and all that. Derek's keeping strong with Fangorn. The list is probably slightly in error because the Ent with Beachbone didn't have a designation. Now it is optional, but I would suspect there's really no reason not to take it. So I'm sure that will get fixed at some point. But it's just a solid Treebeard, Merry Pippin, Birchley, Beachbone, two Ents. Not a bad combo. It's Ents. They're pretty clear cut, looking to do some damage and not get overwhelmed and take losses early. Moving on, we got John De. I'm bad with names sometimes. De Federico, I think is the way to say it. Azog's Hunters, Azog, Fimble, and Narzug. And then just a bunch of bodies. 39 is a solid number considering Azog's cost. It doesn't have maxed bows, which I'm mixed on. I think it could have been better served dropping a model and maxing the bows out, especially being at 39. It doesn't change the break point, doesn't change the quarter point even. You could bump up to max bows. I think that might help. Because of course this army has no spears. That's Azog's Hunters. It's relying on mobility of Hunter Orc Warguarders, which are very good, and bows to kind of whittle stuff down. So I think it'll perform solid, but I think it might lack that extra oomph, just not having all the bows it could. Then me being a schmuck, I'm running White Hand. The scenarios are random. I think it's confirmed that the rounds are 145, which is a little tight for 700, and we are playing dice down. With usurpers, I'm a little concerned with the dice down aspect that it could be the last turn. Usually, psychologically, most people, if they have priority, will look to do the fights that most benefit them before the fights that least benefit them. And while that can also be gamed on a dice down, where you do like the person with priority does all the fights that don't affect them score wise or affect their opponent negatively, and then don't get to the ones that hurt them, um, it's a natural thing also. So with that, I went with White Hand. I went for little more control between magic and honestly, I might save the Palantir for last turns some games, just to ensure that I don't get screwed of it. I don't think I'm going to be that much of a schmuck that I game stuff, but I also run through turns very quickly. It's very possible on the last turn, if I have priority, we finish the turn. So I'm playing White Hand, Saruman, a couple birds, 3 Dunlendings with shield, 3 Orc Spears, and a banner. Grima, then Oathmaker with 3 Dunlin bows, 3 Flaming Brands, 6 spears, and then 2 Chiefs with 6 Uruk bows and 6 Wildman spears apiece. Now, you might be asking, wait a second, what are those Uruk-hai doing there? I'm a little concerned about strength 3 shooting. I will be honest, I don't have that many Dunlending warriors. I have, I think, what is it, 72 Warriors of Rohan from the new kits that I plan on making Dunlending Warrior proxies. I'm going to make shields, bows, and then the throwing spears. I'm going to make 12 that are perfectly throwing spears, a couple banner conversions, a warhorn, and then the rest of the throwing spears I'm going to modify so that they look like huscarls. I'm going to try and cut their shields off where I can, and then make their spears into more axey looking pole arms. When I do that, I'll have Dunlending Warriors, but for now, I really don't have that many. So at that point, I just went with Uruks. I have Uruks just for my scout stuff. Um, so I filled them in. It's mostly I'm concerned about strength 3 shooting. I don't want to take too many wild men. I'm concerned about the random scenarios and all that. Lords of Battle could come up. I feel pretty confident I can reasonably fight Lords of Battle in this. Just I have a lot of bows as well here. I might be able to not automatically lose that with a bunch of wildmen. I probably will. So there's always that chance. Um, Next up, we got Brent with Rivendell. He's got the family with him. Elrond, Elladan, Elrohir, and Arwen. Everyone's mounted up. There's a few knights to go with him and a few warriors on the ground, some bows. Um, it's a hero hammerish type. It can do really well if Elrond, Elladan, Elrohir, and Arwen roll really well. There's not a whole lot that can contest those elves, but they could be a little concerning on the lack of defensive traits, at least with Elladan, Elrohir, and Arwen being lower defense. Elrond, of course, is up at D7, um, which he'll be okay. But the others, if they roll bad, could be in a pickle. But if it runs over people on that first turn with double wrath and a bunch of knights, it can certainly wipe out half a list, if not more in one go. So it's very threatening to the lower count lists. Next up, we got Stephen Fio with Army of Dale. Brand Bard, Captain Windlance. He does have a lot of knights, but Army of Dale, I think, is the place where you do take a few more. It is shooting, and you should max the bows, and I think the bows are maxed just with rough head math. Um, but past that, the knights are not that bad. You don't really get that much more if you end up not taking them. So I think they're stronger since it is a slightly more melee oriented version of Dale because Bard and Brand want to fight. They have stats to fight in melee. But it's still got the wind lance and the bows for coverage. Next, we have Justin bringing Beornings. Pretty clear cut Beorn, Grim Beorn, and then a bunch of Beornings, and it's got its 5 bows. Pretty clear cut. Again, could be very threatening for the lower count lists. Might struggle against the swarms, but if the bears roll well, the swarms can't do anything about it. Next up, we got Quaid Digweed bringing Grief Aimer. It's been mentioned to me that I think this is a bit more of a model count limitation or model availability limitation. I'm not personally a fan of all the double Captain Ministerieth and all those Warriors Ministerieth. I mean, they're tin cans, which are really solid this edition, but I think the list might lack a little bit of oomph. Aemir could sure go on a tear. He's got his bonuses. Grief, I think, is always activated, so he's always getting rerolls to wound. Like he's pissed here, but I don't know that the rest of the list really supports his aggressive plays. I think a second hero, either mounted or to lead the foot troops that aren't just captains, could help. Um, but at the end of the day, it is 41 models. It does have 20. Let's count it quickly. 11, 20, 25 models with shield wall. So it's a real stick in the mud when it wants to stick around. And it does have some riders for mobility and double banner. So it's not going to do bad. I might, if again, similar to some of the other lists, I think it might lack a little bit of oomph to go the extra distance, but I don't think it should get rolled by any means. Next up, we got Andrew Barberson, Kira Thungol, rocking the new Shelob, I'm sure. Shagrat, sorry about the loud alert noises on my computer, because I always forget to turn those off. Shagrat, Gorbag, Shelob, Mordor Taskmaster, and an Orc Captain. Bunch of Orcs, bunch of Urks. Well, I won't say bunch of Urks. This is a much heavier Orc version of this. But I do think that this list can't really afford to take many more Urukai. I think the Urukai Captain is rather expensive for what you get. More orcs could be better, and Shelob gets better things to eat. So it's got a solid amount. I think it could do with a few more spears. 8 Urukai, and the captains really don't have any spears to back them up. Or even maybe more. I mean, it depends what the trackers are doing, if they're fighting in a line or fighting off the side. But 52 models, it's the highest model count list of the day. It can do work. Hopefully, the good juju of Shelob being the new model makes the list perform. I again, model count in some ways is king, so being about 20 above the average could be a real problem for a lot of armies. And Shelob going into safe fights against a lower model count list can really make a big difference over time. I think she's weaker against swarms, but there's not really any other swarms besides me. And I don't even think that I call myself a swarm. 50 is not that high for me. Ben's list isn't submitted. We know it's entered as Gundabad, but don't see the roster yet. Next, we have Brent Allen Suffel bringing Riders of Théoden. I won't say Buck standard. It's got Darewine and not Eowyn. Darewine getting those free combats to go help Théoden, which you can then chain with Théoden doing a combat after to get away from that. So Darewine comes in, swoops, and then Théoden gets assistance or things peeled off to make his combat better. It's only 19, but of course it is 19 with a bunch of Royal Guard, a bunch of throwing spears, a lot of might, free heroics. Aemir can go on a tear, support with the 6-inch banner. As some might have seen in the TTS event, my Sauron got kind of obliterated in 3 turns. So I do know that Riders thing could put in the pain, given the opportunity. So the list can really do damage against some of these lower model count lists. 4 heroic combats in 1 turn could wipe out most of a list. That could be pretty nasty. Next, we have Notcherman, bringing alerts to scouts. Pretty buck standard. I do think this might have a little bit of model availability limitations. 7 Urics with no equipment when he's not maxed probably means there's just no other models available. It happens. But it's got the bows. It's got the mobility with the drummer. I might have suggested having the drummer with alerts, but I can see the thought process of um, Ugluk going down after to get more flexibility of where that is, separate from Lurtz, because Lurtz is a little more secure to go on his own. And then just a bunch of Urks on top of that. It's got a solid, it needs 30 in order to break, which Lurtz scouts the strength. So there's a good chance in any matchup it doesn't break. This is one of the higher bottle count lists. Not too bad. I mean, it's Lurtz scouts. Now looking at stats on lists quickly. The average model count is sitting at 32.5 so far. Obviously, we're missing a couple. I don't see it changing that much. Gundabad's not going to be that much higher than this. And I don't know what Jan is running. I was whispered maybe Men of the West, but I don't know. Low count was 7 with Fangorn, and then the high was 52, as I mentioned. There are pretty sizable good versus evil amounts here. What's the exact count? So far, it's 11 good and 7 evil. It'll bump up to probably 12 and 8 after this. So roughly even, not that far off. Monsters, not making a tremendous amount of appearance with monsters. There are 5 lists that have monsters, 13 that don't. Gundabad would probably have one. Maybe Men of the West, 700 probably would have Gwahir, assuming that's what Jan's running. Roughly a quarter are taking monsters. Same number on casters. 5 lists casters, 13 not. Probably ends up being an even quarter that ends up having a caster at the end of the day. Everyone seems to be a lot more focused on mounted heroes that are going to look for heroics over magic shenanigans. But as I mentioned earlier, there's no repeats of these lists, which is really cool. I'm hoping that ends up being what it is. It's always nice to have a diverse roster that you're taking. I'm a little bit surprised the amount of Rohan back lists. There are a lot of them. Kingdom of Rohan, Army of Edoras, Grief of Aemir, Riders of Theoden. That's a lot of Rohan. I'm a little disappointed I didn't bring the hobos, but I can deal with only half my list having hatred. I'm okay with that. But with my luck, if I had brought usurpers, I won't play Rohan. So I was surprised in the last event to play Rohan. It doesn't happen very often. But that's it for now. Again, it might cut off here, but there might be a little addendum with the additional lists if they come through. And then I'll be making a video next week going over the results of it, and hopefully I can do well, take this 90-point event, get a really good standing moving forward with the league. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all later. All right, I got a little addendum because we got the last 2 lists. I was completely wrong about what lists they were and what I heard. So now that we have them, Last Alliance, Elendil Gilgalad, the dynamic duo. It is focused a lot on them, 31 models, which is not bad when you're paying for 275-point heroes. It's a little light on bows. It could have more, but of course, it's never really. It's not a list that's often going to outshoot people. It's looking just to get in and use that fight 6 on the Kingsguard. and the rerolls, and of course the Whirl of Blades. So it's a solid list. It's not my favorite way to build this. I do like Elendil, Aristor, and a Captain better, but it can definitely do work. Gilgalad is a big threat for big monsters and all that, so it definitely he definitely put in work. And then on Ben's side, he has Birder's Horde. So we do have a second Birder's Horde. It's not that much different than Jonathan's. Um, I think the main difference is just kind of a little bit of the Warg Riders being down there. There's a few less wild wargs. I believe it has one more model. It's not very far off, but it's solid. It's Birder's Horde, two Hill Trolls. I still like Wild War Chieftains, but if it works, it works. Another bigger model count one. And then just finishing off the stats, I'm going to go through a little bit again. Model count has gone slightly up. So it's averaging out at 32.9 now, still 52 and 7. Good evil split is now 12 good, 8 evil, as expected. Monster and not is as expected, 6 monster, 14 not. And then caster is an even 25%. So that is all the stats. I'll be making a video next week once the event's over. But until then, I'll see you all next time.